Welcome to my channel. Have you ever stayed in a place where you were not happy just because you were afraid to leave? What if walking away is not losing, but finally finding yourself? Today's story is about a girl who stayed too long until one day she chose herself. Stay till the end, because this story might help you understand your own life. Her name was Sarah. From the outside, her life looked normal. She had a place to live, people around her, and a daily routine. She woke up in the morning, got ready, and followed the same path every day. But inside, something was not right. Sarah tried to smile. She tried to stay strong. She told herself everything is fine. But deep in her heart, she knew that something was missing. In English, we use simple present tense to describe daily life and feelings. She wakes up early. She goes to work. She feels tired inside. These small sentences show a simple life, but also a hidden pain. Sarah was in a situation where she did not feel free. It could be her job, her relationship, or her environment, but it made her feel small. She could not express her thoughts openly. She often stayed quiet, even when she wanted to speak. She started changing slowly. She stopped doing things she once loved. She stopped laughing like before. Even her voice became softer, weaker. One day, she stood in front of a mirror. She looked at herself carefully. For a moment, she did not recognize the person she saw. She asked herself, "Is this really me?" That question stayed in her mind. She remembered a time when she was confident, happy, and full of life. But now, she felt different, quiet, tired, and lost. Sarah was not living her life. She was just passing through it. And the most painful part was this: she stayed, even when she knew she was not happy. But sometimes people stay not because they are weak, but because they are afraid of change. Sarah did not know it yet, but very soon, something inside her would begin to wake up. Sarah's life continued, but her feelings became heavier with each day. She still smiled in front of others. She still said, "I'm fine." But inside, she was not fine at all. She carried her pain quietly. No one really saw it. No one really asked. And even if someone asked, she did not know how to explain it. Some feelings are very deep. They are hard to put into words. In English, we use simple sentences to describe emotions. She feels sad. She feels tired. She feels lost. These sentences are short, but they show strong feelings. At night, when everything was quiet, Sarah felt her thoughts becoming louder. She thought about her life. She thought about her choices. She asked herself many questions. Why am I not happy? Why do I feel so empty? But she had no clear answers. During the day, she tried to stay busy. Work, small talks, daily tasks, she filled her time so she would not feel too much. But the feeling did not go away. It stayed with her like a shadow. One day, someone close to her said, "You have changed." Those simple words hit her deeply. She smiled and said, "No, I'm the same." But in her heart, she knew the truth. She had changed. Not in a good way, but in a quiet, painful way. She was losing herself. She stopped sharing her thoughts. She stopped expressing her feelings. She became someone who just listened, but never spoke. That silence was not peaceful. It was heavy. But sometimes silence teaches us something important. It shows us what we are feeling and what we are missing. Sarah did not fully understand it yet, but her silence was slowly pushing her toward a decision, and that decision would change everything. Days passed, but Sarah's silence could not hide her pain anymore. Inside her, something was building slowly, quietly, but strongly. It was like a voice trying to speak after a long time. She still followed her routine. She still smiled when needed. But now, even small things started to hurt her more. Words, actions, silence, everything felt heavier than before. One evening, something happened. It was not a big event. It was not loud, but it was enough. Someone said something that made her feel small again. Something that ignored her feelings, her thoughts, her presence. She stood there, listening, just like she always did. But this time, something inside her changed. In English, we use simple action sentences to show important moments. She stood still. She looked up. She took a deep breath. Sarah felt her heart beating fast. Her hands were slightly shaking. Her mind told her, "Stay quiet." But her heart said something different. For the first time in a long time, she listened to her heart. She looked straight and said, slowly but clearly, "I can't stay like this anymore." The words were simple, but they were strong. There was silence around her. People were surprised, maybe even shocked, because this was not the Sarah they knew. But this was the real Sarah, the one who had been quiet for too long. In that moment, she realized something very important: staying silent was hurting her more than speaking. She was afraid. Yes, but she was also tired of losing herself. That moment was her breaking point, not because everything ended, but because something finally began. That night, Sarah could not sleep. Her mind was full of thoughts. Her heart was full of feelings she had ignored for too long. She kept thinking about what she said. "I can't stay like this anymore." Those words were small, but they had opened a door inside her. In English, we often use simple past tense to describe important actions. She decided. She packed her things. She left the room. These simple actions can change a whole life story. The next morning, Sarah woke up differently. Something inside her felt stronger, not fully confident, but ready. She looked around her space. Everything looked the same, but she did not feel the same anymore. She realized a truth. Staying in the same place was making her lose herself. Slowly, she made a decision. She did not argue. She did not explain too much. She did not try to convince everyone. She simply said, "I need to go." Her voice was calm, but her heart was shaking. People around her tried to stop her. Some were confused. Some were surprised. Some did not understand her choice. But Sarah was no longer the same person who stayed quiet just to keep others comfortable. This time, she chose herself. She walked toward the door. Every step felt heavy, but also free. It was not easy to leave. Leaving never is. But sometimes, walking away is not about running from something. It is about walking toward yourself. As she stepped outside, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: space to breathe. The world felt big again. And for the first time in many years, she was no longer trapped. She was walking away. But she was also walking towards something new, toward herself. After walking away, Sarah did not feel perfect. She did not suddenly become happy. Real life does not change in one moment. At first, she felt empty. She had left the place, but now she was facing something new herself. In English, we use simple sentences to show healing and reflection. She is learning. She is growing. She is healing slowly. Sarah started spending time alone. She walked in quiet streets. She sat in parks. She listened to her thoughts instead of avoiding them. At first, it was difficult. When someone stays silent for too long, their own voice feels strange. Sarah was learning to hear herself again. She remembered things she once loved: music, writing, small dreams she had forgotten. Slowly, she started doing small things again. One day, she picked up a pen and wrote her feelings. At first, only a few lines, but those lines felt powerful. She wrote, "I am still here." Those words were simple, but they meant everything. Day by day, she started changing. Not into someone new, but into someone real. She realized something very important. She had not lost herself completely. She had just buried her true self under fear, silence, and pressure. Now she was finding her again. There were still hard days. Some mornings felt heavy, some nights felt lonely. But she was no longer running away from her feelings. She was facing them. And with every small step, she became a little stronger. Sarah understood that healing is not fast. It is slow, it is quiet, it is personal, but it is real. And for the first time in a long time, she was not pretending anymore. She was becoming her true self again. Sarah's journey was not easy, but it was real. She had walked away from a life that was not making her happy. She had faced silence, pain, and fear. And now, she was slowly becoming herself again. One morning, Sarah woke up and felt something different. It was not a big change. It was very small, but it was important. She did not feel heavy like before. In English, we use simple present tense to show new habits and life changes. She wakes up early. She smiles again. She feels peaceful inside. Sarah started her days differently. She planned small things for herself. She spoke more kindly to herself. She stopped blaming herself for everything. She also started meeting new people, not because she was lonely, but because she was open again. One day, someone asked her, "What changed you?" Sarah smiled and said, "I walked away from what was hurting me, and I found myself again." It was a simple answer, but it came from a deep truth. She understood now that life is not only about staying, sometimes life is about leaving, about choosing yourself, about finding peace even after pain. Sarah was not the same person anymore. She was stronger. She was calmer. She was more aware of her own feelings. She still had dreams. She still had goals. But now, she also had something more important: self-respect. Her story was not about loss. It was about finding courage, finding voice, finding self, and most importantly, finding peace within herself. Because sometimes the day you walk away is the day you finally come home to yourself. If you enjoyed this story and learned something from Sarah's journey, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below. Have you ever felt like walking away gave you a new life? Your support helps this channel grow and helps more English learners learn through stories like this.